Good, I'm all right.
Has Steve Parish taken you to one side and thanked you for saving this club from relegation?
No, but he will do it at the end of the year when he pays me, I guess. That'll be more than thanks enough, don't worry.
So do you feel a sense of, vindication that, as you begin sort of turn things around at this club? How does it make you feel personally?
Well, I certainly don't feel any need for vindication with Crystal Palace. I mean, I think that the job in 4 years that I did here, with the circumstances I worked under, was probably, in my eyes, the best work I ever did in my career. So I don't know what I'm vindicating, if I'm vindicating anything, but it's very, very nice to come back in a situation where the club has obviously found itself in a situation where they feel they've got to change and do something different, and then turn to me, and it's so far so good. I've got to be very pleased about that, but it's no question of vindication, it's more a question of being happy that with any luck I will leave the club at the end of the season in the Premier League and we will all be happy.
So is it a case of be careful what you wish for, like in terms of, wanting to change styles and, bring in young managers and all that kind of stuff?
No, I don't think so, not at all. I think that when I left it was the right thing to do. I think that I thought that I'd been wearied by the efforts of trying to keep the club, in a decent position in the league for 4 years without an awful lot of financial backing, because Steve didn't have the financial backing, then he would have given it to us. If he'd had it, it wasn't there. But then a new investor comes on the scene and some money becomes available, and I think the club's invested it wisely. And I thought that was the right time for the club to move in a different direction. And I thought the direction they moved in was the correct direction to move in. Very unfortunate for Patrick that it didn't quite work out at the end as he would have liked. But I still think the club over the last 2 years has been moving along in the sort of direction it needs to move in, and I think that when my time is finished, Steve will find the next person to keep it moving in the right direction.
And just finally, is there any, are you going to be here next season if you do keep the club up?
I have a contract to the end of the season. That's what interests me. I've got 6 more games. I'm very interested in all of those 6 games because I don't want to lose them. I want to get more points than we've got. So that's the only thought in my mind. And I signed to come back to the club on that premise that will you come in during this period, do the job we think you're capable of doing, and change our fortunes if we're lucky, which is what's happened, and that's enough for me. Next season can, the famous Chris Christopherson song, "Let the Devil Take Tomorrow."
Are you enjoying it as much as you hoped you would?
Yes, but that's because of the players. I came in with some sort of trepidation in the sense that if I knew I'd find a lot of players that I'd be really happy to see again and work with again, but there's a lot of other players I was wondering, what's it going to be like? What are they going to be like to work with? Are they going to be as good in my eyes as these guys were? And that's been the beauty of it. They absolutely are. So this, for me, is a fabulous squad of players to work with. And you'd have to be a very ungrateful coach not to enjoy working with them every day. I think they've got a good margin of progression. But there's a few young ones out there in terms of Premier League experience. There might come a time when some of the ones who are so useful to us in the dressing room with their Premier League experience and with their support, if you like, might not be there anymore. And that will ask bigger questions of them. But I have great faith in this troop of players.
Very last one is from Matt. Thanks.
Hi, Roy. You've clearly been very impressed with Jordan and with Michael. Does that kind of give you food for thought about how you bring Will back? And not, obviously, we're not talking about whether or not, because you've spoken about how we're going to bring him back in, but does it give you food for thought about what you might do to...
It's a very nice problem to have. I mean, Wilf Zaha, when he declares himself fit again, will obviously be more than knocking on the door to get back in, and we'll have to find a way somehow of accommodating him. But we've got options. He's the Nathan. Unfortunately, we've lost. We won't see him. Nathan Ferguson. Vicente's back. So really, you know, Wilf is the only one at the moment, and Pliny. But we think he'll be back during the course of next week. So it'll be a good squad to go into the last 6 games with, and I think we're going to need them all. And I must say I'm finding it quite useful now to have the 5 substitutes and the 3. I was never quite so keen on it during my 4 years because I didn't think we had enough players behind us who could go in and replace the ones I wanted to play. But now it's changed. The squad's much stronger, so we'll see what happens in the coming week. But I would never lose sleep about how am I going to get Wilf in the team. I would more like to lose sleep thinking what am I going to do without Wilf in the team.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.